Hey guys, back into the YouTube video. Today it's going to be a showing off video. Now I got some new items. I got some items from the flea market, got some items that my brother and I did a trade on, and got some items that my father got for me, and got a few items that I have made, including one on my hip. So I guess the first items I'll show off is stuff I got from the flea markets. Didn't really get much, but I got a few good items. We'll get one out of the case. First is this Buck 510, Buck 510 with engraved aluminum handles. I found this at a local flea market for $7. And when I first saw this, it had a white price tag on it, and I was almost about to walk past it, and I realized it said Buck knife, and that's all it said. And I'm like, I have to get this case open to look at it. And for $7, I couldn't complain. And when I first got it, it did not look like this. It was severely beat up, and the blade had a little bit of scratching on it. So I went to work with some very fine sandpaper and repolished the aluminum and repolished the blade. And overall, that was a great buy. That's going to look great in my collection. And I even have a case for it already. So that'll look great in my collection. Thank you very much. Next is another item I got at the flea market that was really inexpensive. This is a Buck 301, but it's got some severe issues with it. The guy originally wanted $18, and I told him would he take $10 for it, and he said yeah. And you can see the problem, and just to show you a comparison, I've got my brand new 301, that's a pre-date code, that's near mint condition that I got from a friend of mine, and this is to show you what it's supposed to look like. So this is what happens when somebody severely uses this pocket knife for what it's not intended for. So what I tend to do is I will send this into Buck and get brand new blades put in it, and the blades will have the 2021 stamp, and then it'll go straight into my collection. It'll be $10 well spent. So this one I'm not going to do anything to. I'm just going to leave it as is and just send it as is, because it's not worth trying to do anything to. And next is a pocket knife I bought for $1. And this one I've already stripped for parts because I took the blades out because the blades were totally broken. And I'm still looking through my blades to see if there's some that can be replaced. So there's that. And then at another flea market I don't normally buy movies, but when I see something I don't have that I haven't seen in a long time, I bought it. And this is the Supernatural first season. I paid $3 for, and it's the entire first brand new season. And this was brand new, still wrapped in the paper. So it was totally worth it, because these sets normally new are about $20. Next is a knife that was given to me by my Uncle Darren. He and I were moving out his old house, and he said I can go through some of his cheap knives and pick out some ones that I liked. And the one I picked out is this Winchester. Self-assisted. I love the unique lock where if you push it up, it unlocks it. And when you when the lever stays down, it locks it in place. Push it up, close it, push the lever down, and it won't open. Push it up, it'll open, almost like a switchblade. Thank you very much, Uncle Darren. This will look great in my collection with my other automatic knives. Next is the items I got from my dad. He bought another lot of knives off eBay, and he gave me the ones he didn't want. And this one is a Ross Frey pocket knife. I'll clean this up and do some research on it, see what it is. Next is a Browning trapper knife. This one I think I will keep and put new handles on because I don't have many trapper knives. Everything will close. There it goes. Next is an old Kin Cutter Barlow with white handled grips. The blades are very rusted. So I think what I will do is take the blades out of this, completely replace them, and then redo the handle, make it look nice and brand new. And probably put it in my collection depending on how it turns out. And then, last but not least, a white-handled Victorinox little penknife classic with Bank of America on it. I'll clean this one up and put it in my collection because I don't have one of these with a white handle. All right. Next is on an item I bought by coincidence, actually. Now, brief story about this item. I was at a come-and-go gas station. Me and my father went there, and I went to go get us some drinks, and I happened to run into an old friend of mine named James. He's a friend of mine. We used to go to school together. Anyway, he knows I'm in the knife business, and he said, "Hey, I've got a sword in the trunk. Would you want it?" I said, "Well, what is it?" And he said, "It's a cavalry-type sword," which is what it is. And I said, "Well, what brand is it?" And he said, "It's an old India-made sword." And I said, "Well, those generally aren't worth a lot because they're meant for display. They're not meant for actually being used." And I said, "I'll give you $20 for it." And he took it, and I told him thank you. And this one I'm not really going to put for sale. This one I cleaned up and put in my personal collection. And when I first got it, it was completely beat up. The brass was tarnished, and the blade was severely rusted. Let me set the scabbard down. And the scabbard was severely rusted and pitted. Now it looks a heck of a lot better. And I repolished the blade and fixed it all up, and now it's got some very good weight to it. And luckily, I've taken swords like this apart before, so I have a pretty good guess of how these come apart. And this one's actually very well made for being an India sword. It's got some very good weight to it, and it's got an actual forged tang, which is what these swords originally had. And the handle's actually in pretty good shape. And I just love that engraving on it. So this one I cleaned up and put in my personal collection. Thank you very much, James. So instead of going to Come and Go and getting some drinks, I went to Come and Go, got drinks and a sword. And the scabbard, on the other hand, I didn't really have to do much to. I blasted the rust off these end pieces, and the finish was gone. There was no point in trying to repolish them, so I actually just painted them silver. And then I reconditioned the leather on the scabbard and gave it a nice coat of oil, and it was good to go. $20 well spent, and it's going to look great in my collection. So thank you very much, James. Next is a couple of items I've made. First is this axe I made. I haven't really got done with it. I still got to blast the rust off these pieces and then trim the screws down. This one I made out of a saw blade, some brackets, a piece of aluminum for the cup, and a piece of old wood for the handle. And then I still got to put a bevel on it. And then next is this big hog splitter that I made out of a piece of bar stock. Very sharp, got some very good weight, and it's full tang. All these are available. And then next is a very special knife that I've made. This is a bowie knife I made out of a rasp. And that is just a beautiful knife in general. My brother found me a rasp out of a pile of scrap, and I annealed it so that way it was easier to work with. And then I went to work and made a classic bowie knife. Man, that's so badass. And this one I will sell, but it'll be for a good price. I think a fair price would be $100. And if I had a leather sheath for it, it would be $150. So I love this knife. It's one of my favorites so far. And last but not least is the items that my brother traded to me. He wanted a toolbox from me, so he traded me some items. So first is these 3 files that I'll use. And then he also gave me some horseshoes that I'll clean up and see if there's any brands on them. And then I'll probably make something out of them. And then last but not least is the axe head. Sorry about it getting dark. I'm trying to do this real quick while it's getting dark. And I've cleaned it up. And this one I will actually turn around and sell, because I always sell axe heads. And last but not least is he also gave me a little punch dagger made out of plastic. Alright, that's all the items I've gotten. Thanks to all those who helped me get these items. And I guess I'll end the video right here. And as always, stay sharp.